If you've ever found your cat sitting at the window for hours, staring outside like they're watching the most fascinating movie ever made, you probably think you know what's happening, don't you? They're watching birds. Maybe squirrels. They're entertained by the movement outside. And honestly, that explanation makes perfect sense. But here's what most cat owners never consider, and what the behavior is actually revealing about your cat's psychological state. That window staring isn't just entertainment. It's not just casual observation. What your cat is experiencing during those hours at the window, what's happening in their brain and body, and whether this behavior is healthy or a cry for help, all of that depends on details you're probably not even noticing. Because here's the truth that changes everything. Not all window staring is the same. The way your cat stares, the body language they display while doing it, how long they stay there, and what they do afterward, all of these variables tell completely different stories. One type of window staring indicates a mentally healthy cat enjoying environmental enrichment. Another type indicates a cat experiencing frustration so intense it's creating chronic stress. And a third type might be your cat trying to tell you something is wrong, either with them or with something they're detecting outside that you can't see. Most owners see their cat at the window and think, "Cute, they're watching birds." But they're missing the body language that tells them whether their cat is content, frustrated, anxious, or desperately understimulated. And that difference matters more than you realize, because one of these window staring patterns is slowly creating behavioral and health problems you won't connect to those peaceful hours at the window until it's too late. Let me show you what your cat is really experiencing when they stare out that window, and how to tell the difference between healthy observation and silent suffering. Let's start with the type of window staring everyone recognizes but doesn't fully understand, the active hunting stare. Your cat is at the window, body tense, eyes locked on something outside, probably a bird or squirrel. Their pupils are dilated. Their tail might be twitching. They're making that chattering sound with their teeth. You think, they're just watching wildlife. But here's what's actually happening in their brain. This is predatory activation in real time. Your cat's hunting drive has been triggered, and their nervous system is flooding with neurochemicals. Research on feline predatory behavior shows that when cats spot prey, their brain releases dopamine and norepinephrine, neurotransmitters that create focus, excitement, and the motivation to hunt. Their pupils dilate to gather more visual information. Their muscles tense in preparation for the chase. The tail twitching and teeth chattering are motor preparation behaviors. Their body is literally rehearsing the movements they'd use to catch that prey. Now here's where it gets complicated. In small doses, this is actually healthy mental stimulation. A study on environmental enrichment for indoor cats found that visual access to outdoor prey activity can provide cognitive engagement and satisfy some of the cat's need for predatory behavior, even when they can't actually hunt. Watching prey through a window activates the same neural pathways as real hunting, giving their brain a workout it desperately needs. But here's the problem most owners miss. This type of stimulation only stays healthy when it doesn't create frustration. And how do you tell the difference between healthy engagement and frustrating activation? You watch what happens after. A cat experiencing healthy enrichment will watch for a while, maybe chatter and twitch, and then voluntarily disengage. They'll walk away on their own, maybe go eat or play with a toy or groom themselves. Their nervous system activated, they enjoyed the show, and then they moved on to other activities. Their body language returns to relaxed baseline relatively quickly. But a cat experiencing frustration stays fixated for extended periods, sometimes hours. When they finally leave the window, they're still activated, tail still twitching, pupils still dilated, body still tense. And critically, they often redirect that frustrated hunting energy into problem behaviors, attacking your ankles, ambushing other pets, destroying things, or displaying aggression seemingly out of nowhere. Research on frustration in cats shows that incomplete predatory sequences, seeing prey but never catching it, can create a buildup of unreleased hunting drive that manifests as behavioral issues. So if your cat stares at birds through the window for hours and then attacks your feet when you walk by, they're not being randomly aggressive. They're redirecting hunting frustration that built up because their brain activated the hunting sequence but never got to complete it with a catch. That window staring session that looked peaceful was actually creating stress, not relieving it. Now let's talk about a completely different type of window staring that most owners never distinguish from the hunting stare, the environmental monitoring stare. Your cat sits at the window, but they're not locked onto prey. Their eyes are scanning, their body is relatively relaxed, and they're just observing. This looks similar to the hunting stare, but the body language and the psychological experience are completely different. This is your cat engaging in what researchers call territorial surveillance. Even though they're indoor only, your cat still considers the view from that window as part of their territory or at least their area of interest. They're monitoring for changes, for unfamiliar cats, for patterns in the neighborhood activity. Research on feline territorial behavior shows that cats have an inherent drive to monitor their territory for intrusions or changes that might affect their security. When your cat does this type of window staring, you'll notice different body language than the hunting stare. Their pupils might be normal-sized, not dilated unless they see something concerning. Their tail is still, not twitching. They might shift positions occasionally, looking at different areas. They might even close their eyes briefly or turn away and come back. This is relaxed observation, not predatory fixation. And here's why this type of window staring is actually beneficial. It gives your cat a sense of environmental control and predictability. They're learning the patterns of their territory. The mail carrier comes at 2 p.m. That orange cat walks past on Tuesdays. The neighbor's dog goes out 3 times a day. This mental mapping and pattern recognition keeps their cognitive functions engaged and gives them a sense of mastery over their environment. A study on environmental enrichment and stress in indoor cats found that cats with window access to observe outdoor activity showed lower stress markers than cats without windows, suggesting that this visual connection to the outside world provides psychological benefits even when the cat never goes out. But here's the critical nuance. This only stays healthy if your cat's body language remains relaxed. If you notice your cat's stress signals activating during environmental monitoring, pupils dilating, ears going back, body tensing when they see something, then what they're seeing is creating anxiety, not contentment. Maybe there's a stray cat outside that makes them feel territorial threat. Maybe there's construction noise or activity that's unsettling. Their surveillance has shifted from comfortable monitoring to anxious vigilance. If you're realizing there's a difference between the types of window staring you've been seeing and you're not sure which one your cat is experiencing, that's exactly why Whisker Wisdom exists. Subscribe so you learn to read what's really happening with your cat, not just what you hope is happening. And stay with me, because the next type of window staring is the one that breaks my heart because it's so commonly misunderstood. Let's talk about the window staring that isn't about what's outside at all. Your cat sits at the window for hours, but there's nothing particularly interesting happening out there. No birds, no wildlife, just an empty yard or a quiet street. Their body language is neither excited nor vigilant. They just look absent. This is the type of window staring that owners find most confusing, and it's actually the most concerning. This isn't observation or hunting. This is what researchers call displacement behavior, or in severe cases, learned helplessness manifesting as vacancy. Your cat is understimulated, possibly depressed or chronically bored, and the window has become their default location not because what's outside is interesting, but because staring at nothing is slightly less boring than staring at the same indoor environment they see every day. Here's how to recognize this type. Your cat's eyes might be unfocused, not tracking anything specific. They might stare at the same spot even when nothing is there. Their body is completely still, not the alert stillness of hunting but the listless stillness of disconnection. They might sit this way for hours without any change in position or focus. And critically, they're difficult to engage when you try to redirect them to play or other activities. Research on feline depression and chronic understimulation has identified prolonged vacant staring as one of the behavioral markers of poor mental health in cats. A study on environmental enrichment deficits found that cats in severely understimulating environments would engage in what appeared to be spacing out behaviors, long periods of unfocused staring that serve no apparent purpose. This is your cat essentially checking out mentally because their environment provides so little cognitive engagement that their brain has nothing meaningful to process. The window becomes a focal point by default, not because they're interested in what's outside, but because looking at a static view is the closest thing to stimulation available to them. And here's what makes this heartbreaking. Owners often interpret this as, "My cat is so peaceful and content, just relaxing by the window." But if you look closer at the body language, the unfocused eyes, the complete lack of responsiveness to stimuli, the hours spent in unchanging stillness, this isn't contentment. This is a cat whose brain has so little to engage with that it's essentially going dormant. The health implications are serious. Chronic understimulation in cats has been linked to cognitive decline, depression, obesity, from complete inactivity, and behavioral issues when they finally do get stimulated, explosive play, aggression, destructive behavior, because they don't know how to regulate normal arousal levels. Now let's talk about a fourth type of window staring that reveals something completely different. Your cat repeatedly staring at one specific spot or repeatedly returning to the window at specific times with focused attention. This isn't about birds or surveillance or vacancy. This is problem detection behavior, and it might be your cat trying to tell you something. Cats have sensory capabilities far beyond human range. They can hear frequencies up to 64,000 Hz. We max out at 20,000 Hz. They can detect tiny vibrations. Their vision is optimized for detecting movement in low light. When your cat stares fixedly at a specific area outside, especially if they seem alert or concerned, they might be detecting something you can't perceive. This could be rodents in the walls or attic that you can't hear. It could be ultrasonic sounds from electrical equipment, plumbing, or neighboring properties. It could be other animals, cats, raccoons, possums, that pass through at specific times and leave scent markers your cat can smell even through the window. A study on feline sensory processing found that cats often react to environmental stimuli that are below human detection thresholds, and their behavior, staring, vigilance, agitation, is often the first indicator that something is present. If your cat's window staring includes behaviors like vocalizing, pacing, returning repeatedly to the same spot, or showing signs of agitation, they're not just watching casually. They're communicating that they're detecting something they consider significant. Sometimes it's harmless, wildlife passing through. Sometimes it's informative, pest problems you didn't know about. And sometimes it's a sign that something outside is creating genuine stress for them, territorial threat from other cats, disturbing sounds or activities. The solution is investigation. Check what's actually in the area they're staring at. Look for signs of pests, note the timing, is it always at the same time of day? Consider whether neighboring activity might be creating sounds or smells they're reacting to. Your cat's focused staring might be their way of saying, "There's something here you need to know about." So what do you do with all of this information? How do you respond to your cat's window staring in ways that support their mental health instead of accidentally creating problems? For the hunting stare, activated, predatory focus, this needs to be balanced with actual hunting simulation. If your cat is getting activated by window prey but never completing the predatory sequence, you need to provide that completion through play. Schedule interactive play sessions with wand toys shortly after window time, letting your cat stalk, chase, pounce, and catch. This completes the neurological circuit and prevents frustration buildup. Research recommends 10 to 15 minutes of predatory play daily for every cat who has visual access to outdoor prey. You're essentially letting their brain finish what the window started, preventing the frustrated aggression that comes from incomplete hunting sequences. For the environmental monitoring, relaxed surveillance, this is healthy and should be supported. Make sure your cat has comfortable window perches at various heights. Consider multiple window access points if possible. Some owners install bird feeders outside windows specifically to provide enrichment, though be mindful of the hunting frustration issue. This works best when balanced with play. If you notice your cat's monitoring shifts to anxiety, tensing when they see certain things, you might need to address what's causing the stress. Other cats entering your yard? Consider motion-activated deterrence. Disturbing sounds? Address the source if possible, or use white noise to mask it. For the vacant staring, understimulation, this is an urgent call for environmental enrichment. Your cat isn't getting enough cognitive stimulation from their environment. The solutions include rotating toys to maintain novelty, puzzle feeders and foraging opportunities, vertical space for climbing and exploration, interactive play sessions daily, new scents and textures introduced regularly, cat TV videos or visual enrichment when you're gone. Consider whether your cat would benefit from a companion, if appropriate for their personality. A study on reversing understimulation in indoor cats found that comprehensive enrichment protocols showed measurable improvement in cognitive engagement within 2 to 3 weeks. The vacant staring decreased as cats found more stimulating things to engage with in their environment. For the problem detection staring, investigate, address what you can, and provide reassurance. If your cat is stressed by what they're detecting, sometimes blocking visual access temporarily while you address the underlying issue, pest control, deterring other cats, etc., can reduce their stress. But don't just cover all windows permanently, that removes valuable enrichment. Address the specific problem they're alerting you to. Here's the deeper truth that ties all of this together. Your cat's window staring is a window, pun intended, into their psychological state. It tells you whether they're mentally engaged or checking out, whether they're getting healthy stimulation or frustrated activation, whether they're content or anxious, whether they're detecting problems you're not aware of. Most owners see a cat at the window and think nothing of it. It's just what cats do. But when you understand the different types of window staring and what each reveals, you suddenly have a diagnostic tool. You can assess your cat's mental state, their enrichment needs, their stress levels, all by watching how they watch. The cat who actively hunts through the window but then redirects to play is mentally healthy and getting balanced stimulation. The cat who monitors calmly and can disengage easily is secure and content with environmental observation. The cat who stares vacantly for hours without focus is desperately understimulated and needs intervention. The cat who fixates with agitation is detecting something that needs your attention. Same behavior, cat at window. 4 completely different psychological experiences. 4 completely different messages they're trying to send you. At Whisker Wisdom, we believe that understanding your cat's behavior is the key to meeting their actual needs. If this changed how you see your cat's window time, share it with someone whose cat practically lives at the window. Your cat can't tell you, "I'm frustrated because I can see prey but never catch anything." Or, "I'm so bored that staring at nothing is my most stimulating option." Or, "I keep hearing something in the wall that concerns me." But they can sit at that window day after day, and the way they sit there, the tension in their body, the focus in their eyes, what they do before and after, is telling you everything if you know how to read it. Tomorrow, when you see your cat at the window, don't just glance and think, "Oh, watching birds again." Look closer. Are their pupils dilated or normal? Is their body tense or relaxed? Are they tracking movement or staring at nothing? Do they seem engaged or absent? Can they disengage easily or are they fixated? Those details are the difference between a cat who's getting healthy enrichment and a cat who's silently struggling with frustration, boredom, anxiety, or trying to alert you to a problem. Your cat has been sitting at that window all along. The question is whether you've been seeing what they're really experiencing while they're there. Now you know how to look. Now you know what to see. And now you can respond in ways that actually support what your cat needs, instead of just assuming that any cat at any window must be having a good time. Because sometimes they are. And sometimes they're telling you something completely different. Listen to the stare. It's speaking volumes.